guys, it's Abby from Autumn of Pelennor, and in this video I'm going through my 2018 reading statistics. So I use the PDF that Portal in the Pages provides. I will link her channel down below, and the link will be to the specific video talking about the 2019 Excel spreadsheet that she makes. But I used it for 2018 as well, and so I thought I would go through and just look at some of the statistics that are on there. I will say that some of the stats are not quite accurate. Mixture of user error and something going wrong in the code, nothing to do with her at all. She's really good at this. But yes, so there are a few errors and adjustments that need to be made, but this is approximately the statistics for my reading for the year. So according to Goodreads and then myself and then this, I read a little over 130 books. I think Goodreads says 133, my calculations were 132, and this said 131, but I thought I'd entered the same stuff into all of them. I really don't know, honestly. So, like I said, it's a bit out. Oh well. So, the total pages read, according to this, is 35,206, which is a lot. And the average pages per book was 269, so that is definitely on the shorter end. I am discovering that I'm liking currently to read shorter books a lot more. I think that's because I have so many, I own so many, that I can get through them and it's one more book down. And I get that satisfaction with it, because before I joined BookTube, before my long slump in my teens, I loved longer books, so I'm hoping to get back into that, but I think that requires me to reduce my TBR. So the reading of the short books will continue, mainly because I still own them. My average star rating, according to this, is 4 stars. I'm going to be having a video go up soon of my 5-star reads of 2018, and there were a lot. But having the average at 4 surprised me. I didn't realise how many books I was rating highly. So in terms of breaking it down into genres, again this isn't entirely accurate, but approximately I read 3 classics, 12 contemporaries, 11 dystopians, 30 fantasies, 14 graphic novels, 17 historical fictions, 6 humorous books, 8 mystery crime thriller, 21 non-fiction, 3 plays and 2 comics. But then that only totals 127, so some things went wrong there. I don't know what, but yes, that's all the genres that I read. In terms of years published, 28% of my books that I read were published in 2018, which is a decent amount, and then 25% was in 2016 or 17, and 24% was 2011 to 2015. So that is 77% of my books that I've read having come from this decade, which again doesn't surprise me, because I do like reading books that are around now, and I read a lot when I was younger in the age range that I wanted to read, and just that's kind of how you would expect. I am quite happy about reading 37 books from 2018 because of having such a backlog. I am quite happy that I have kept up with current releases, but it also does concern me that I have so many other books, but maybe more of them are in the 2011 to 2015 bracket than I'm realising. I did also read 10 books from 2006 to 2010 and 5 from 2000 to 2005, and then there were a few books before that. I had 6 books before the 1920s, so that was some classics and some old mysteries, 1 from the 30s, 1 from the 40s, 1 from the 60s, 4 from the 80s, I think that was Terry Pratchett, 2 from the 90s, and then I already said all the rest of it. But yeah, so the vast majority was in this decade, 77%. I only listened to 4 audiobooks this year, which I am surprised at. They seem to take a lot of time for me, because I won't sit at home and go, I'm going to listen to my audiobook. If I'm sitting at home, I'll read a physical book. I use them when I'm out, so especially when I was in my last year of my undergrad, I would use them going food shopping. Can't do that now because I go with my flatmate. I'm not that rude. But so they did take a while to get through, so that may explain why there was only 4 audiobooks. The next lowest category is hardbacks at 13. I just don't own a lot of them. I don't tend to buy books as soon as they come out unless it's from an author that I know I need to read. So like Derek Landy, his School of Very Pleasant books, I buy them as they are released. So that was definitely one of them. And then I also will buy hardbacks in charity shops if they're there. They're £2 in the one that I go to, so no harm done there, but it is my least read area. Then it's ebooks with 43 ebooks. I am kind of surprised at how many that is because although I adore my Kindle, I find it difficult to read ebooks because I'm not as immersed when I'm not holding a physical book, which makes no sense, but that's how my brain reacts with them. So I was surprised at that, but then I'm not surprised that 70 of my books are paperbacks that I read. So that's 53% of the books that I read in the year, and it doesn't surprise me. Then also with the age groups, my lowest age group was children's literature. I read 17 books in that area. Then surprisingly to me, I read more adult than YA. And also like it's young adult and new adult together, which can technically be just put into adult, but I kept them together. So I was expecting that to be a lot higher. I did not expect to read so many adult books. So I read 43 YA NA books and I read 71 adult books. Again, really wasn't expecting that. It's kind of a surprise, but it's interesting because I thought that I was still reading childishly for my age. I'm 22 and I had assumed I was still reading very childishly. I wasn't bothered because I enjoy the books, but that's what I had assumed. And instead, looking at this, I'm finding out that actually I am reading adult fiction and non-fiction. In terms of page length, my longest book was under 900 pages, that was Game of Thrones. And then the only other long I read, and then the majority of my books were under 500 pages. There's 6 over 500 and all of the rest are under, with 16 being under 100 pages. So my most common bracket was 300 to 399 though, that's how they bracketed it off. Honestly couldn't tell you off the top of my head what they are, and I think that's because 2 stars are just kind of forgettable, didn't want to be reading, whereas 1 star I did not enjoy. Then 28 of my books were 3 star, 57 of them were 4 star, and this says 39 of them were 5 star, but then when I did this 38... Oh! Within this stats page I noted down I beta read a book and I gave it 5 stars, I really enjoyed it, and so that's down on there. But it isn't in there because it hasn't been published yet and I was going off of my Goodreads list. In terms of genders, I read a pretty even split. I was expecting to read vastly majority female and I did not. 4% of the books were mixed, so either they didn't have a gender, they are they, or it was 2 authors combined of different genders. 47% of my books were female authors, leaving 49% for the male. I did not think I was going to have read more men than women, because I always feel like I'm showing women on my TBR. That's really interesting. But yes, I'm reading a pretty even split of the genders. Then in terms of where my books come from, the vast majority come from Europe, which pleases me because I'd been worried they were going to come from... It's done by continent and by country. Breaking it down by continent, I'd been worried it was going to come from North America, i.e. the US, just because there's so many books that come out of there, they're so hyped, they're so well marketed, especially compared to UK books. We do not get the marketing that American books do. So I had been worried that I was going to be reading more from the US, but I'm not. The largest area is Europe. I'm hoping that's because I read a lot of World War II fiction stuff. But 57% of my books were from Europe, with 36% from North America, and then the remaining percentage is 6% from Oceania, so that's Australian books. I have a decent number of Australian authors that I keep going back to, and then one book was from South America. I can't even remember what book that was, that's bad. This statistic is not good, I'll be honest. This is the breakdown of the race of the author, vastly simplified. It's white or not white, essentially. And I read 93% white. I believe that this is because that's what I already had on my shelves. What that says about me, I don't know. A lot of my authors are European, which is a white, predominantly white continent. However, that is not the percentages of the population. It's not 93% white. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to work on improving that this year because I'm trying to read what I already have. So if what I already have is all white, it's going to do the same again this year. I didn't realise that was quite so bad. Moving on from that, can you tell I've only just looked through these today? In translation, the exact reverse, 7% of my books are from translated works and 93% were not. That does not correlate with the race, because I know for a fact that quite a few of them, I say quite a few, there were 9, a decent number of the 9 were French, and I looked up the authors and they were white. So yeah. In terms of a breakdown by country, I won't go through everything because it would get very boring, but 44% is from the UK, then 34% from the US, and the rest is a breakdown between Australasia / Oceania, North America and Europe. Just to round it off, doing a little bit more general, on average it took me 3 days to read a book because you put in your start and your end dates of the book, so on average it takes me 3 days. Pages read by month. The average pages read a month is 2,934, but my highest month was 6,627, and that was in January. And then going to books read by month, on average I read 11 books a month, which I think is actually pretty decent. And the highest, again, obviously was in January. It correlates with 26 books, which was 20% of my yearly read. And yeah, that is just a quick wrap up of what I read. So this video and the video on the 5-star reads of 2018 are what I'm putting out to kind of tell you guys what I read over the year. I started my booktube channel this year, so some of it is catalogued within there, but I didn't start until kind of the second, third, great. I didn't start until the second third of 2018, so the beginning of the year is kind of not in my channel. So this was kind of my way of showing all the books that I've read in a way that's more interesting than just listing them all, because that would take a very long time and I don't have the editing skills to make that interesting. Just to put it simply. So yeah, that is essentially all the books that I have read last year. I am very happy with the number I read. I'm very unhappy with the amount of white people I read. That definitely needs to be more diverse. I either need to read more and have all of the new people be people of colour, or just read more people of colour and less people that are white. But again, that's going to be a bit awkward when I already own the vast majority of the books that I'm going to read. And I think they are predominantly white. So I need to look into wanting to read more authors of colour, because I don't think they get as much marketing and as much publicity as the white authors do, which is an issue within itself. So yes, bit deep, a little bit sad that I did muck up with that, and also interesting to see kind of how many pages I'm getting through. I think I'm wanting to keep up with that and keep more on track with that as I go through 2019, because I kind of filled this in retrospectively using my bullet journal, but I'd like to kind of use this more and see this more as I go through the year and seeing what I'm doing. So yes, that's that. If you want to keep up with what I'm going to be reading in 2019, then click subscribe. There's a nice red button down there and a little bell if you want to. There's also my Twitter, my Instagram, my Goodreads and my blog all linked down below. If you do want to follow me and stuff, it's all down there. And please do leave any comments for any suggestions on how to get my equality back in reading. So I'm not just reading white people, whilst still reading the books that I want to read, that I already own. Because I need tips. And let me know how your reading years went. How many books did you manage? 130 odd is massive. Last year I managed 90 and was, the year before, 2017, I managed 90 and was immensely proud of that. I was like so hyped that I managed that many, so over 130 is ridiculous. So please don't feel bad if you read less than that. If you read one, doesn't matter, as long as you enjoyed it and reading is something that you love doing. So let me know how many you read. If it is only a few, tell me what you did read and like tell me the best ones. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Hopefully with less of a me glancing off to the side video. My laptop's here with the stats on, if you hadn't guessed by now. But yes, I'll shut up. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye!